Shoes have been around since ancient times, used for protection from the harsh environments in which people once lived. In today's day and age, though still useful for protecting from the elements, footwear has become much more synonymous with wealth and status. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution and the commodification of shoes, most people don't make their own footwear anymore. It wouldn't be productive. So now, we rely on manufacturers and brands to keep us comfy and virtue signal wealth. With that in mind, it's important to understand that between the ancient world and now, shoes have had meanings to many different cultures for centuries. But what fascinates me more is how people have used shoes as projectiles with intention. Whether it's sporting, politics, mourning, or celebration, today we're talking about the cultural impact of throwing shoes. Perhaps the most commonly recognized instance of throwing shoes is when they're seen dangling from a telephone pole or a tree branch. This practice can be seen all across North America in both rural and urban environments. Their perceived meanings vary from region to region depending on socioeconomic status and age groups. In some areas, shoes are flung as a rite of passage, for example, to commemorate the end of a school year or a forthcoming marriage. Other theories suggest that the telephone pole custom originated with members of the military, who are said to have thrown military boots, often painted orange, at overhead wires after completing basic training or when leaving service. In more urban environments, shoes on a telephone wire are popularly said to be linked to organized crime. They can signify the location of gang turf, commemorate the death of a gang member, or just a person who lived in the area. The shoes are also rumored to mark a spot for drug deals or to indicate where someone could buy drugs. A 2003 newsletter from former LA Mayor James Hahn cited fears of many LA residents that, quote, "These shoes indicate sites at which drugs are sold, or worse yet, gang turf." However, it is difficult to determine whether shoes were placed by gang members for gang-related purposes, and many police officers believe it to be a myth. More conclusively, a 2015 study of shoe tossing data in Chicago failed to establish a causal connection between drug dealing and shoes. Aside from throwing shoes at telephone wires, there's a curious tradition of shoe throwing when concerning wedding celebrations. The superstition can be witnessed in many cultures across generations. In Victorian England, people would pelt a bride and a groom with old shoes when they start on their honeymoon. In Charles Dickinson's novel David Copperfield, the custom is recorded by the narrator. Quote, "When we were all in a bustle outside the door, I found that Mr. Peggotty was prepared with an old shoe, which was to be thrown after us for luck, and which he offered to Mrs. Gummidge for that purpose." End quote. Peter Ditchfield wrote in his book, Old English Customs Extant at the Present Time, saying, quote, "We also throw old shoes after young married folk in order to express our wishes for their good fortune." Probably this was not the original meaning of the custom. The throwing of a shoe after a bride was a symbol of reunification of dominion and authority over her by her father or guardian, and this receipt of the shoe by the bridegroom was an omen that the authority was transferred to him. End quote. Aside from American shoe-tossing symbolism and archaic European wedding traditions, the last use of shoe throwing we'll be looking at is in sports. Welly-wanging, boot throwing, or gumboot tossing is a sport in which competitors are required to throw a Wellington boot as far as possible. The sport appears to have originated in the West Country of England in the 1970s and rapidly became a popular activity. The sport now lives across many countries such as Australia, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Ireland, Italy, New Zealand, and Russia. Shoe tossing related games have also been seen across many schoolyards as children's games designed for friendly competition and to pass the time. Shoes have had and will continue to have a regional socioeconomic meaning, whether it be from their design and use or the way they're thrown. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of footwear. I'm One Nice Thing. See you later.